Gore is carrying his weak daughter. He prays to the gods for water and for help, but the gods do not hear his prayers and his daughter dies. Gore hears a mysterious whisper that recognizes his suffering and leads him to a lake where god Rapu is resting. Gore is happy to see the god he believes in, but Rapu treats him like a stray dog and tells him that his sole purpose in life is to suffer so that the gods can have fun. Gore renounces Rapu, but the god grabs him by the throat and intends to kill him. However, the tables turn when the Necro's sword makes its way in Gore's hands, assisting him in killing Rapu. The sword's energy takes over Gore, and he promises to go after and kill all of the gods with the sword. Next, a narration starts and introduces us to Thor, the god of thunder, a god who was raised from childhood to become a fighter. However, there are many more things to this god, and he has a pure heart. He has loved a woman from planet Earth in the past, Jane, and that was the only battle he couldn't win. His heart was broken, and he went through a hard phase, but he managed to recover by deciding that he will not love again, and he will only participate in fights with his team of misfits, which is called the Guardians of the Galaxy. Indeed, we get to see Thor in the present day in an incident that's happening on a remote planet. The king of this planet tells Thor that their god was killed, and now their enemies have taken over their temple. Thus, they need his help to win the temple back. Thor says that he is here to help, and gives a motivational speech, which his friends really love. He summons his hammer and the power of the thunder, and goes against his enemies all by himself. On Earth, Thor's old love interest, Jane, is having a hard time following her chemotherapies. But her friend Darcy tells her that she needs to take this situation more seriously because she is a patient in stage 4. Jane tries to convey that she is not much worried about herself, and Darcy suggests that Jane can ask her old Asgardian friend Thor for help, an idea that Jane doesn't want to try out. However, Jane leaves the hospital and visits a theme park, where the broken hammer of Thor is lying as an exhibit. When she gets near it, dark clouds start gathering above her head, and pieces of the hammer start acquiring electrifying energy. When Thor and the rest return back to their spaceship, they receive a distress signal from one of Thor's old friends, Sif. Thor is worried about her, and he teleports Korg and himself on the battlefield. They're able to find Sif, and Thor asks her what's happened. Sif replies that she went after a madman who is trying to kill all the gods, and from what she could gather, Asgard seems next. Seems like Sif was right, because that night, Gore sticks his Necro sword in the land of Asgard, and summons some dark creatures which attack the town. Thor teleports in town and starts fighting the creatures, but as it seems, there's a new Thor around, a warrior that can use Thor's original hammer, which has now been reassembled. When Thor approaches this new fighter wielding his original hammer, he realizes that this person is no other than Jane. A short narration takes over and informs us about their past. Thor and Jane fell in love on Earth, and they had a really great time in the beginning. But then they started being scared of losing each other and built walls in between them until eventually they broke up. Back in the battle, Gore attacks Thor, and they fight each other. Thor gets a glimpse of Gore's strength, but Gore also finds it difficult to fight against two Thors. Gore and his shadow soldiers kidnap all of the children, and they escape like shadows. However, an Asgardian kid uses his magic eyes to communicate with Thor, and mentally bring him to the place where they are being held prisoner. Thor exclaims that he knows where the children are imprisoned, and informs the others that they are located in the realm of shadows, which makes perfect sense for Gore, because that's the place where he is most powerful. Thor mentions that they can't just fly over there because a trap might be waiting for them, and Valkyrie comments that they probably should gather some more fighters on their side, a suggestion which Thor agrees with. While Valkyrie prepares their flying boat, Thor has a talk with his old hammer, and complains that his previous hammer forgot him quite quickly and found a new master. Jane joins them, and Thor asks her how her connection with the hammer happened. And Jane explains that she felt the hammer calling her, and she just went to it, which resulted in the hammer attaching itself back together. Right after their talk, Jane visits the restroom to get some space alone because she starts to feel a bit weak. She lets the hammer go out of her hand, and she now transitions into her human form, feeling awful due to her illness. The team flies to the city of the gods, and they wear a disguise to be able to enter the Golden Temple, where Zeus makes his impressive entrance before he addresses the other gods with the issues at hand. Their first and biggest problem is where their annual orgy is going to take place, and Thor cringes when he hears that. After a couple more minutes of Zeus talking, Thor walks on the central stage and informs Zeus about Gorr, but Zeus is not in the mood to help Thor, commenting that the gods are safe here. Zeus mentions that Gorr is never going to reach eternity, and Valkyrie explains to Jane that eternity is a powerful creature in the center of the universe that will grant the wish of the person that will reach it first. Thor insists and says that Zeus could help them at least by handing them his thunderbolt, but that's not going to happen. A fight starts between Thor and his team against Zeus and his men, and it seems like Thor and his team are stronger, but Zeus uses his thunderbolt to kill Korg. Thor is extremely angry and grabs the thunderbolt when he's attacked with it, throwing it back at Zeus and killing him. The only remaining piece of Korg is his talking face, so our heroes grab it along with the thunderbolt, and they fly away from the city of the gods. Thor projects himself to the children once more, and tells them that he was not as brave as them when he was their age, and hypes them up by saying that they are the bravest Asgardians he has ever met, asking them to support each other and reassuring that he is coming for them soon. Thor and Jane get a moment alone on the ship, and Thor tells her that he wants to feel awful about their past relationship because a friend told him that it's better to feel awful rather than feel empty, and Jane funnily tells him that she doesn't know how to help with that. Thor mentions that he wants to stop caring about his fate and just live his life without being worried about what the future will present him with, asking Jane to be together again. Jane reveals that she is suffering from stage 4 cancer, and that makes Thor feel awful. However, he says that Jane will get past it because she was chosen by the hammer, which means that she is worthy. He also remembers that he wasn't able to lift the hammer before he met her, and that it was Jane that showed him how to care about others, a fact that made him worthy of the hammer. Eventually, the ship reaches the realm of shadows, and the 4 travelers realize that all color is gone and everything is black and white around here. The team lands on a planet, and Jane realizes that Thor's weapon is the key to unlocking eternity, which means that they just fell into a trap. Gorr initially neutralizes them and has a chat with them, slowly killing them, which leaves Thor with no choice but to call his weapon. They break free momentarily and fight Gorr and his shadow creatures, but Valkyrie is injured and they have to take her out of there. Thor uses his weapon to open a portal and teleport back to Asgard, but right at that moment, Gorr uses his magic and steals his weapon. In Asgard, Jane gets worse, and Thor realizes that he was wrong about the hammer, telling her that she needs to stop using it because it drains her of her energy and her body can't fight her cancer. Thor takes the thunderbolt and reaches the center of the universe, where Gorr is trying to unlock the gate to eternity. Thor gets to the children and gives them a motivational speech before using the thunderbolt to temporarily grant them the power of Thor, so they can all fight and get to Thor's weapon. Indeed, they are all able to fight well with the monsters while Thor fights with Gorr, which also results in Jane joining them since Thor can't win the battle against him on his own. They detach Thor's weapon from the gate, and Thor gives it to the children so they can teleport back to Asgard, while he and Jane fight with Gorr, and break his sword once and for all. However, the gate to eternity has been opened, and Gorr stands before the powerful creature. Thor tells him that he won, but he is not really after revenge, but he is after love, explaining that he can use his wish to bring his daughter back. Gorr says that he is dying, and his daughter would have nobody to take care of her, but Jane tells him that's not true. Jane dies, and Gorr wishes for his daughter to be alive again. Some months later, things have fallen into place, and Asgard is safe while Thor is now living with Gorr's daughter and taking care of her like she is his own daughter. The narration comments that Thor is not a sad god anymore, but a loving god. By the end of the film, we see them walking out of the spaceship and going into battle, while the narrator explains the title of the film by saying that they are now known throughout the universe as Love and Thunder. Before the title rolls in, we see that Zeus is alive and has called his son Hercules, saying that once people see Thor falling, they will fear the old gods again.